Okay. All right, we are recording then. Very good. It's 2:01 on my clock, and I want to be respectful of everybody's time, and we've got a bit to get through. So I want to give it 60 more seconds, and then we'll get started. Throughout the presentation, if you have thoughts or questions, go ahead and put it in the chat. And to the extent that I can, I will love to read your comments and answer questions as they come through. I'm going to finish in time to give us some time for Q&A at the end. So if you have thoughts or questions that you want to share with me or with the group by the end of today's session, you'll be able to do that. We also have a free download document that you can have to take with you at the end of the meeting today. So it is now just 2 minutes past 2. Oh, thank you, Linda Butler. Wow. Well, I want to say welcome to all of you who've joined us today. I want to thank especially my colleagues and friends, creative fundraising advisors who've helped to make this training session possible. Make You Want to Stomp has been a project of mine that I've been doing since 1999. So that makes it about 22 years old. We've done Make You Want to Stomp all over North America, throughout the United States and Canada, and haven't done Stomp in probably about 4 years. And so today's version is the new and updated version of Make You Want to Stomp. And folks like Linda, who are out here today, some of it will be very familiar, and some of it will be new, but all of you, I want to say thank you and welcome to the Make You Want to Stomp revolution. And when I do this session live, I usually ask the audience to be very interactive, but because we are on this technology, I'm going to ask you to write your questions or comments in the chat, and I'll get to you as I can, but forgive me if I'm not 100% up to date with the technology. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I have been doing professional fundraising now since, oh boy, for 30 years. I don't even remember what year that was. And I remember the first time I was asked to raise money, I had to raise $85 to host a Halloween party for kids at the Boys and Girls Club. I was the director of programs at the Boys and Girls Club. Now, I didn't have a clue how I was going to raise $85 for these kids at the Boys and Girls Club. But I was young and ambitious. I was up and coming, and I knew that I wanted great things for my life, and I wanted my life to contribute very well to other people's lives. So as a young and upcoming person who had no clue how to do the job set before me, I did what any young and ambitious person would do. I called my mama. I called my mom and I said, Mom, they want me to raise $85 to have a Halloween party for the kids at the Boys and Girls Club, but I don't know how to do that. And my mother said to me on the phone, she said, now, Audrey, which is what the A and AJ stands for. She said, now, Audrey, she said, when you realize the power that is within you, you'll know that this $85 is the smallest amount of money that you'll ever have to raise. And I said, well, Mama, I thank you for believing in me. And she said, yes, I do believe in you. And she said, and I'm going to help you out. I'm going to send you $50 to help out the kids at the Boys and Girls Club. And that was my first fundraising gig. And I knew at that moment that I was destined to be a world-class fundraiser. Well, then I want to fast forward just a couple years after that $85 deal. And I found myself in Seattle, Washington, the director of development, the executive director of a Boys and Girls Club in Seattle. And my first major fundraising task there was to raise $300,000 to build a football and soccer field behind the Boys and Girls Club in Seattle. Well, I didn't have a clue how to raise $300,000, but I was young and I was up and coming, and I had moved from a cubbyhole office at the Boys and Girls Club to now I had my own broom closet office at the Boys and Girls Club in Seattle. And I did what any young and up and coming person would do who had to raise $300,000. I called my mama and I said, Mom, I got to raise this money and I have not a clue how to do it. My mother said to me, Audrey, when you know the power that is within you, you will know that this $300,000 is the smallest fundraising goal that you'll ever have. She said, but I believe in you and I'm going to help you out. And she said, you check the mail. And within a few days, I had gotten a check for $250 from my mom to support that $300,000 project. And that taught me a very powerful lesson. And that is that when you go to the people who believe in you and share your vision, you can get 5 times the amount of a gift from them than you did before. So now let me fast forward just one last time to my first huge capital campaign. I was part of a fundraising team that was hired to raise $90 million to build the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center on the banks of the Ohio River in Cincinnati. And by this time, I was well into my career, but I had to raise $90 million, and I didn't have a clue how to do it. So I called my mama again, and my mother said to me, Audrey, look at your life. Look what you've done with your career. You went from $85 many years ago to now raising $90 million. You see what can happen when you believe in yourself? And I said, oh, teared up a bit and said, thank you, Mama. I appreciate the support. I said, when can I expect the check? And my mother said, now you're on your own this time, baby, but I believe in you. And that is how my fundraising career got started. And that is why I'm here today, because I learned how to believe in me. And we created this STOMP Revolution program to work with professionals to help just to inspire you one step higher, one stomp further along in your life and your career. And we've all just come through one of the most challenging years we've ever seen with this pandemic, and a lot changed for a lot of us, for all of us. And now we have to think again, now, what do I really want to do? What do I really want to be? How do I really want to show up in my life and my career? And that's what this STOMP Revolution is here to talk about. Now, we only have a little bit of time to talk together today. I'm going to try to get this done in less than an hour so that we can address your questions. And so I'm going to give you a high-level overview with enough meat that you'll leave here today knowing that you've gotten something meaningful and useful for your own life and career. So I want to start with overviewing the 5 principles for Make You Want to Stomp, for the STOMP Revolution. And these are principles that are proven to make a difference in your life and your career. And they are: salute your super self. That's the S principle. Trust yourself and take some risks. Overcome your obstacles. Master the mindset of success. And proceed in your power. And if you ever have done any work to improve your career, to improve your status at work, to improve your opportunities and your chances, these principles will help you take control of those self-guided personal development opportunities. And so we're going to start with the STOMP itself. Now, when we do a live seminar, if you're in the audience, I'm going to ask you to stand up and do this STOMP with me. And it sounds a little like this. Can you hear that? Can you hear it? That's the stomp. Some say it sounds like a beating heart. Some say it sounds like the sound of an army marching with banners. But I say this is the sound of your determination. This is the sound of your belief in yourself. This is what it sounds like to stomp. Today, we're going to ask you to look at yourself, look at your life and your dreams. And I want you to dare to dream a dream that's so big that it stomps at the core of who you are, that it stomps at the core of your values, that it causes you to be afraid because you wonder, can I really make these dreams come true? But it causes you to be excited because if you do, you know that you will have stomped out the life that you've always dreamed for yourself. So today, if you hear this sound, know that it is the pulse of your own heart beating, and it is the sound of your deliberate stomp. All right. So let's talk a little bit about what it is to salute your super self. This is the S principle. And this is about looking at you. Now, I'm going to stop talking for just a moment, and I'm going to ask you all to type in an answer to this, to fill in this blank. I am extraordinary because I am blank. I am extraordinary because I am blank. Take a minute to fill in the blank for yourself in the chat. I'm extraordinary because I'm what? I'm extraordinary because I'm intelligent. I'm extraordinary because I'm a mother. I'm extraordinary because I am the job title that I have. I see determined and independent. I'm extraordinary because I'm caring, an individual, creative and flexible, adaptable, loved. I love it. I am extraordinary because I am. Now, I do this exercise. I've done this exercise all over North America. I've done it with lots and lots of people. And I have people all the time tell me, well, AJ, this is just not something that I sit around thinking about, is about how extraordinary I am. But I say that even at the Temple of Apollo, the phrase, know thyself, is carved above the temple door. Know thyself. So this is the beginning of your life-changing metamorphosis. Knowing yourself. You know, research tells us that having an ideal self, what would we ultimately love and desire to do and be in our lives, that is the driver for all personal change. And I've coached enough executives and professionals to know that when people have an ideal self that they want to live up to, that desire from inside themselves is what makes change possible. So when I say, fill in the blank, I am extraordinary because I am, and somebody, Tracy says, because I'm an influencer and people respond to my message and I care. I think that's fabulous. We all get to do it. We all get to determine why we are extraordinary and what are the things that make us extraordinary. But here's the rub. Here's the exercise. I want you to fill in that blank 100 times. Fill in the blank 100 times, write out. And when you get our workbook after this session is over, you'll be able to write down what are the 100 extraordinary traits about yourself that you can come up with. Now, I know, I've done this enough to know you're going to say, AJ, no. There's just no way I can come up with 100 extraordinary things about myself. But I say to you, absolutely, you can and you must. Or You can be like some of the other people that I've shared this exercise with. I was doing a training in Baltimore to an international group of consultants. And we gave each of the people who were coming to the session homework. And the homework I sent out was a list that said, I am extraordinary because I am. And then I had 100 blanks for them to fill in. And I gave them 3 weeks to get that done. Well, when we got together in Baltimore, out of the 40 people who had joined us from around the world, how many do you imagine had actually filled in 100 blanks over the course of 3 weeks? Well, I can tell you, it wasn't 40. It wasn't even 10. It was 5. 5 people filled in the 100 extraordinary traits and got to all the way through 100. And so I asked in the room, and these were brilliant professionals. These were people who had made careers for themselves. And I asked for those who didn't do it, I said, well, tell me how far you did get in your list of 100. There was an attorney in the room, a lawyer, and the lawyer said, well, AJ, I didn't fill in 100 extraordinary traits because extraordinary is so far beyond ordinary that nobody could be extraordinary at 100 things. And I acknowledged his belief. And I said, well, I certainly understand that. How many traits did you get? And he said, 12. I said, well, you've got 12 extraordinary traits, and that is to be celebrated. So then another woman in the class had come to join us from a country, I can't even tell. And she said in a very heavy accent, she said, AJ, in my country, we don't talk about ourselves this way. It is just not done. And I said, I get it. Talking about what you're good at or what makes you special and unique, it's not easy. And it's not always something that's socially or politically correct. And I said, well, how many extraordinary traits did you have on your list? And she said, 105. So here's a woman who had the weight of her whole country and culture on her saying, don't talk about yourself like that. Don't think about yourself like that. And yet she had gone over the number of extraordinary traits that we asked for in the homework. And the very important lesson that I've learned and that I want to share with you about this is we are, each of us, as extraordinary as we want to be. If we want to be 12 measures of extraordinary, then we can be 12. And if we want to be 105, then we can be 105. And let me tell you, everything about you is extraordinary, everything. And you have the privilege in this exercise of mining deep into yourself to determine, to just announce the things about yourself that are extraordinary. And listen, I didn't ask you to put them all on this in this chat today in this webinar, because you don't have to share your list of 100 extraordinary traits with anybody. This is for you, because as I've said, understanding your ideal self is at the heart of creating change and growth in your life. Now, let me say this to you as well. When I say I want to encourage us to initiate change and growth, I'm not saying that who you are right now is inadequate in any way. I'm not saying that, we're all just works, incompleted works, and we have so much to do to be our best. That's not what I'm saying. I'm looking at change like a balloon. When you blow up a balloon to one size, there's still potential to make it bigger, isn't it? And so as we're talking about looking at yourself and your life in this post-pandemic world, I want you to see yourself expanding like a balloon, not being a different person, but being a different version, a new and refreshed and more exhilarated version of yourself. So do this on your own. Fill in the 100 extraordinary traits and remind yourself just how extraordinary you are. Now, the last point I want to make about this, because people have said this to me so many times, is, well, I don't want to be, what's the word, conceited, right? I don't want to be so high on myself that I just think I'm all that in a bag of chips. Well, to that, I say, I'm not asking you to see yourself as better than anybody. I'm simply asking you to see yourself and acknowledge the best in all there is of you. And if you'll dare to do that, you will have created the foundation for meaningful change in your life. Now, if you're looking at a post-pandemic world and you're saying, well, where do I go from here? The answer is start with yourself. Salute your super self. You know, to salute is to show respect, right? You've seen in wedding ceremonies, they say salute your bride, and it's a kiss. A salute is a greeting or a welcome. And so I'm asking you, and I want to encourage you to salute your super self, welcome her, greet her, embrace her, and allow her to shine. And it all starts by simply acknowledging that you are extraordinary and that you have extraordinary traits. Got it? We'll come back to this a lot throughout the rest of the webinar. Now let's move on to trust yourself. I don't know if my chat box is showing up on your screen. Trust yourself and take some risks. This is the second principle of STOMP. Now, trusting yourself is one thing, and taking a risk because you trust yourself is the next and key important step. I recently conducted a survey on LinkedIn. We had over 12,000 views in the feed, which is the most of any thing I've ever posted. And among the people who responded to the survey, the question was, what do you do when you don't know what to do? And 47%, by far the largest number of people, said you trust yourself and you act. 47%. The second highest was consulting or confiding in a trusted advisor. And then there was stick to tried and true practices and see if that gets you through a crisis where you don't know what to do. That one only got 11%. And then the fourth one was try something creative, just make up something creative to do when you don't know what to do. And that one only got 7%. So professionals around the world all know that there comes a time in all of our lives when we really don't know what to do. And in those times, especially when there's not time to consult someone, then you have to learn to trust yourself. Let me get this. Now, I want to say self-belief does not necessarily ensure success, but self-disbelief assuredly spawns failure. I was doing a workshop somewhere, and I don't know, have you ever had one of those days where you felt like the audience wasn't with you, or the people you were talking to weren't really feeling you? Well, I was having that day, and I was in the middle of a floor of a room full of people, and I'm trying to teach, life-changing wisdom. And in my mind, I said, oh my gosh, I've lost the crowd. I've lost their attention. I've lost their trust. I've lost something important. And I just kept telling myself, you're flopping up here, AJ. You're just not making it happen. You're not doing well today. And it was one of the worst presentations I ever made. And at the end, I blamed it on the audience, but I also blamed it on me, because what I was telling myself about myself in that moment, it de-energized me. It caused me to feel like I couldn't keep trying. And so my mentor, my coach said to me, Audrey, AJ, you always want to trust yourself and behave as if you can't make a mistake. And I thought, well, that's ridiculous, because I can always make a mistake. I'm always making mistakes. But the skill for those of us out here working to build a better life and career is to trust ourselves, even when it doesn't seem to make sense. So here's a way where you have to begin to trust yourself. Here's my question. What are your career aspirations? What do you want to do? The age-old question, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be right now? So some of you are in jobs and careers where you just want to get past this next deadline or this next major assignment, or you just want to get through this next challenge that's ahead of you. So you want success now, or you want to get through something now. But take a moment and write down, what do you really want in your career right now? Right now, I just want to get back to work, or not have to go back to that living commute where I'm on the highway 3 hours a day. What do you want now? And I ask you to write that down for yourself. What do you really want? And then ultimately, what do you want for your career? Do you ultimately want to be president of the company, king of the world? What do you ultimately want for your career? And when I ask these questions, I'm not just asking you to give a job title. Ultimately, I want to be CEO, president, king. Ultimately, I want to know how you want to live. For me, just to be very personal, I never wanted a career that just ate up every free hour of my life. That just has never been appealing to me. And every time I've found myself in a position where I'm just working, I'm unhappy. And I say that because I spent most of the years of my children's childhood working, traveling. So when you asked me, what ultimately do I want from my career? My answer was not only about title or influence or credibility or salary, but it was about the lifestyle that I wanted. So I'm asking you, what do you want for your life and your career? When we're starting over as we are after the pandemic, now is the time to reassess that. And again, I want to encourage you, don't just write titles. If you want the big title, or if you want whatever you want to own the company, whatever you want, please write that down. But write down, what is the life that you want to have as a result of it? Because most people often think about the job or the money or the title, but they don't necessarily think about the lifestyle beyond, ooh, if I have this much money, I can have a house and a car and a, membership to the club. So write it down. What are your career aspirations? This is the time to begin reevaluating. And listen, no dream, no aspiration is weird. No dream is too big or too small. But no dream is too big. So I encourage you to dream big. What is the life you want for yourself? What is the career? How do you want your colleagues to perceive you? What do you want to offer and give to this profession of fundraising? And I ask you to think about that same exact question with your talents. You might be good, if you look at your list of 100, you might be really good at organizing things, or you might be very good at envisioning creative futures, or you might be good at writing or speaking or leading and guiding. What do you want to do with that? And I want to encourage you all to ask yourselves, how am I using those talents in my job currently? How am I using my skills? And is this job, is this career allowing me to give the best of myself? Now, this is why asking yourself what you want from your life and your career matters. I often do an exercise in live webinars, live workshops, where I ask people to write down your ideal day. Just write it down from the time you wake up in the morning to the time you go to bed at night. What is an ideal day for you? And I hear all kinds of things. People say, oh, I wake up and I have a cup of coffee and I can play. I have enough time in the morning to play with my children or do some, something that matters or is important to me. And then I go off to work and I have a good day at work. And then I come home at night and at a decent hour, Now, I got to tell you, you asked me to write about my ideal day. Work ain't in that. I'm not, my ideal day includes a life of giving and receiving and sharing and being empowered, being in a position to do that. But I'm not writing specifically about my job. I'm writing about my career. I'm writing about how I want to use my talent of writing or speaking or coaching or the gifts that I have to make the world a better place and to feel like a fulfilled individual. But I'm not writing about the job. I'm not writing about the job. And I find that a lot of people, when they think about their ideal lives, it is centered around a job. Now, you have careers now. That's why you logged into this webinar. But I want you, as you're beginning to evaluate where you go from here, to think about what do you want in addition to the career? And you have to trust yourself enough to let that live on paper. Because if you can envision it in your mind, you can ultimately move rapid fire toward the direction of your aspirations. And that means taking risks. And the risk part is the hardest part. So as you're thinking through where you want to go, where you want to take your career, it's first important that you salute your super self. Know the things that you're good at, know the things that make you who you are, and stretch yourself to identify every little thing. Secondly, you have to trust yourself that you have dreams and aspirations for your career, for your life, and that these things can be possible for you. And then you have to be willing to risk taking the steps that make those aspirations possible. And the first and greatest risk is simply to identify what those aspirations are, to identify them. And that's what I want you to get out of today. Now, as you journey towards moving and defining your life and moving to your highest ideals for yourself and of yourself, you are undoubtedly going to come across some obstacles. I had a client who felt like if I make a right decision, then I'm not going to face all this horrible backlash. If things go wrong, then I must have made an incorrect decision. So we had to talk through that, because one of the things I've learned, even when you make the best decisions of your life, even when you make the greatest leaps of faith and the highest goals for yourself and your world and your family, you're going to come up against obstacles, people who are against you, circumstances that don't favor your outcomes, and you're going to face obstacles, but that doesn't mean that you made a bad decision. I don't think any of us get to this point where we are on a webinar because we've never had an obstacle to overcome. And sometimes the biggest obstacle is ourselves. And that's what I want you to stomp into, learning to face your obstacles head on and deal with them. So what are some common obstacles? Now, these are common obstacles that I've observed and learned working with clients all across the United States. Fear is the biggest obstacle that most people face. And fear doesn't always look like quaking in your boots and biting your nails to the quick. Fear can show up like anger, or it can show up like depression. Fear has a lot of faces, a lot of masks that it wears. And so if you're afraid, if you're feeling fear, especially fear of failure, then this is one of the things that you want to be aware of, that you face in your life, and create strategies. And we'll talk about this as we move forward, to create strategies for dealing with fear, because fear will get you more than any other obstacle. The other one is permission. You know, a lot of us, especially I find with my female clients, and I know it's not only women who do this, but a lot of times we find, you know, we grew up in a society where we need permission to do everything. You know, in grade school, you needed a permission slip to go to the zoo, and in high school, you had to get a driving permit before you could drive. And, you know, I think we've been conditioned to get permission. Some of us don't have this fear, or some of us don't deal with that. But giving yourself permission to succeed, even when other people around you don't agree or understand, that's a big obstacle that needs to be overcome. And then there's criticism, harsh criticism. How many of us have worked for people who didn't support us, didn't like us? And it was clear by the way they spoke to us, because we were, you know, some way diverse from them, or some way they were, I don't know, they were threatened by us, or they just didn't, you know, we just weren't their cup of tea. You know, we find that the research shows that harsh criticism is more likely to keep you down, keep you from setting high goals than almost anything. So sometimes the people around you aren't supportive of your goals and your dreams. And so one of the things we talk about in one of the exercises in the workbook is, how do you face those obstacles, and what are some of the strategies that you can use to succeed in your career, to succeed in moving forward in your dreams, even if the people around you don't seem to be very supportive. Now, here are what we call in the coaching profession internal interventions. Now, the world comes at you, right? And sometimes it brings in tides of good fortune, and sometimes it brings in COVID-19, right? And so sometimes it's easy to feel as if we're not in control, that we just have to hope that the weather is good enough for us to do the thing we want to do, or we have to hope or plan to have everything in place. And then circumstances come at you and it could set you back. But your internal interventions, the way you talk to yourself, becomes one of your best strategies for overcoming the obstacles. And I wanted to run through, and I'll put them all up here, 7 brief strategies for your own internal interventions that help you deal with unforeseen and unexpected obstacles. Normalize. If you run into, say you have a boss that treats you very bad, or you're in a circumstance where the people around you are just, you know, crazy, in a word, normalize it. And know that when you have a reaction to somebody treating you badly or saying the wrong thing, don't go into thinking that you're crazy, or that you're wrong for feeling mistreated or abused or somehow unsupported. Just know that your reactions to negative situations are normal, and that you can get through them. I created a book. I have a little book that is the size of a passport, and I call it my ravings account book, not a savings account, but my ravings account. And that's what I'm referring to here in number 2, where we talk about center and think of 3 successes in your life. In my ravings account book, I write I keep letters that people have written to me saying, oh, I enjoyed this, or you helped me, or, emails or cards that have come where people have sent me kind words that uplift and support me. I encourage all of you to start keeping track of your good things, keeping track of when people compliment you. What did they say and why did they say it? And on the converse side, if you're ever offering a compliment to somebody, don't simply say, hey, congratulations, that was good. Say, hey, congratulations, that was good because I got an insight that I hadn't had before, or that was great because it was succinct and well delivered, like AJ's STOMP presentation. When you offer a compliment, give the reason for the compliment. And when you write a compliment for yourself, when you keep your ravings account, write why that made you feel good, because then you begin to identify your triggers, which is number 3. What sets you off and how do you control it? It's not about how others behave. It's about how you internalize what's happening in your world. Mindfulness and affirmations. These are practices that have been at the center of some of the most successful people in the world. They use these practices to get their mind right. Overcoming those obstacles is a personal job. It's personal work that you want to do, and learning how to quiet your mind and just simply say good things about life and about yourself, writing out your 100 extraordinary traits. These things can and will help you navigate through some of life's most difficult obstacles. Remember your body. This is a challenge for me. I'm a mental worker and a creative person. I'm not an athlete, but I do know when I'm walking and when I'm out in nature and when I'm gardening or rehabbing the deck, that I'm putting my body in it. And the STOMP is about putting your body into your work. So use your body as much as your mind and your creativity. Befriend yourself. Don't be your worst critic, your worst critic. Don't be that person. You're going to have critics all around you. Learn to recognize, and here's a phrase I like to say, I love that about me. I love it that I forget things. I love it that I lose my keys every time I take them out of my bag, right? Learn to say you love yourself, even when you're doing those little things that drive your boss crazy, your board crazy, your community crazy. Just love yourself through it. And then remember that your frenemies don't own the truth. Just because somebody says something negative, especially something negative about you, doesn't at all mean that it's true. So, mastering the mindset of success is what you're doing as you're going through the strategies, especially the internal interventions. You're learning to master the mindset of success. My spouse and I were dreaming about the next chapter of our lives. And, it occurred to me, the difference between where you are and where you want to be, it's not necessarily this ladder that we've been taught. You have to climb a ladder. You have to go through all the steps and all the processes. The difference between where you are and where you want to be is more often a matter of mindset. And the mindset of success is one of the number one. It is nothing can be more powerful. Knowing your ability to know that you are an extraordinary being and to trust your dreams and trust your decisions to overcome it when things get in your way is all a matter of your mind. I love to use this little illustration because it shows a great big head over a small body. And if our bodies were built to reflect where the power of our lives are, it probably would look more like this. Our mind is what controls our body, even more than our bodies control our minds. And so I want to encourage you that your mind is the most powerful tool that you have, period. Your mind is where you make up your mind. Your mind is what the records that you're playing in your head that tell you that you can or you cannot do something, that you should or you should not do something. And so I love this illustration. And I even have I have a snowball on my bookshelf of this little critter, this little dude right here, to show that it really is about our mind. Success work is mind work. And so if I were to ask you, what are the 5 senses? What are your 5 senses? We all have learned that since we were kids, right? The sense of taste, touch, smell, hear, and sight, right? But what if I were to ask you, what are the faculties of your existence? What are the things that allow you to master even more than your 5 senses? These are things that we're not taught, but I want to share with you the secrets, the tools that you have at your disposal to master your mindset. And there are 6 of them. I see some, I'm looking at the chat. I'm hoping everybody can still hear me and see me. Let's talk about the 6 means of mastery. These are parts of your mind just as much as your sense of taste and smell and touch. All of these senses, these faculties are powerful, and I want to encourage you, as you're determining how you shape your life and career after COVID, to master these, to practice these. It won't happen in a day. So the first one I want to talk to you about is your will. You know, you've heard the saying, where there's a will, there's a way. And that's absolutely true. And in the notebook, in the workbook that you'll get, you'll have a sheet. It looks like this. I think it's going to be backwards in the video, but there's a sheet there that you can have that will help you remember these faculties of mind mastery. And the first one you have is your will. And these are in random order. Your will is your power to focus on one idea at a time. So if you're saying, oh, I want to become queen of the universe, and then you start to say, oh, I can't be queen of the universe. I don't even know where the universe is, right? So, you know, you start to tell yourself all the reasons why you can't have a dream, or why your dream, oh, I want that house on the lake, but oh my gosh, the price tag, I can't have it. Never mind. Your will is your ability to focus on one thought. If I want to be queen of the universe, I get to put my will in it and decide, what does that look like? How will I be as queen? I'm not thinking about how to get there. I'm not thinking about what I can't do and what the obstacles are going to be. I simply will myself to envision the dream uninterrupted. Envision the dream uninterrupted. And that's what your will do. And it takes practice. You'll spend the rest of your career understanding how powerful your will is. Then there's your imagination, which feeds directly into your will. If you can imagine it, you can create it. Everything we have, whether it's our phones or our, water bottles, or everything we have, started out as an image in a designer's mind. A chair, the house, the car we drive, the sofa in your living room, the everything is a part of imagination. And I firmly believe that the idea of using our imagination is actually kind of negated in today's world, because we have so many steps, so many process, how to, step 5 steps, 7 tips, all that whole situation. And we're looking for answers, but we're not allowing ourselves to envision what the finished thing looks like. So learning to envision and use our imaginations. Then we have our perception, and our perception is the power to look at problems and situations through various angles. When Oprah a long time ago told a story when she was on a movie set and she was trying to figure out how to play the role or how to navigate the script successfully. And she'd go into her trailer and she said she would channel, you know, the spirit, the personality of the characters and the ancestors and the masters that she trusted. And you may or may not believe in channeling the spirits of ancestors, but you can certainly say, well, you know, Paul Johnson is one of my heroes, and you can look at your problems from the perception, like what would Paul Johnson do in this situation? How would he handle this? So you can ask yourself various perspectives of how to deal with things, and that's the power of perception, and it's one you can develop. Then there's your intuition. You know, in that survey I talked about, what do you do when you don't know what to do? People talked, the professionals who responded were overwhelmingly encouraging us to trust our intuition and develop it. And again, this won't happen overnight, but with determination, with practice, trusting your intuition, you'll see exactly what it can do. And this is how we master the mindset of success. Reason and memory are very powerful mastery tools. I'm going to talk about memory for a minute. You know, it's possible to remember the future, you know, and it's kind of an imagination tool. You know, remember, use your ravings account. Go back to your list of 100 extraordinary traits, or do like the lady in my workshop and go way beyond 100. And remember, you know what? I'm good at this. You know what? I said I want to be queen of the universe, and queens deal with things like this. So use your memory to mark your success. And so again, when you get the workbook from us, you'll be able to read more about how these 6 means of mastery are at your disposal, and how you can use them to make your life your masterpiece. Make your life your masterpiece with these tools. And here's the other thing. As professional fundraisers, we know that we want to give donors a vision, right? We've become expert at learning how to help our institutions, our donors, our teams really think about the power of a vision. But it's true, it's absolutely true in the nonprofit world, but it's even more true in your own life. When you dream and imagine, don't stop yourself based on the crappy circumstances that are around you and the difficulties that you face. You want to have a mindset of expansion. And the last thing is the P principle: proceed in your power. And, you know, I saw a guy on TV selling shampoo. Some of you have heard me tell this story. It's a life-changing thing. There was a guy on a QVC channel, QVC-HSN, one of those channels, selling shampoo. And he was so fascinating selling this shampoo that I could not turn my eyes away from him selling shampoo on television. And he had the bottle of shampoo and he held it up to the camera and he talked about how it was cactus oil infused to make your hair shiny and bouncy and alive. And this man put a dollop of shampoo in the palm of his hand and showed it in close-up on national television to sell a dollop of shampoo. And he twirled the shampoo with his fingers, and he showed us how creamy it was and how the cactus oil would get in there and make your hair everything you ever dreamed your hair would be. And I was so taken by this man's proof of his dollop of shampoo that I only bought one case, but I was convinced because he showed me just a little dollop. And I say to you that you are a dollop. You have 100 extraordinary dollops in your 100 extraordinary traits that help you understand your power. You have 6 mental faculties that you can master to help you know how powerful you are, even in the most difficult circumstances, and to show you where your power is, to allow you to dream the best for your life and career, and to empower you to pursue it. Because knowing your ideal self and saluting your super self is the beginning of it. And mastering your mindset and not letting yourself get away with, oh, I can't do it, I can't do it. That is the hinge pin. And just a dollop of you seeing yourself as phenomenal and extraordinary, people will follow and you will grow. So here are my last 7 tips that I'd like to offer you today. And they are in the workbook that you can write to me and get. And this, I'll put them all up here so you can see them. Okay, and I don't know if my chat box is showing up. Trust your talents and your training. Trust yourself. You know, I've said this before, none of us can count on our past to get us, to steer us through every change in our future, because all of us are going to be consistently facing things that we've never seen before. But what you can bring with you from the past is that trust. Well, I've done it before. I believe I can do it again. I can meet this challenge. So trust your talent, trust your trainings and your competencies, but know that the past isn't always going to give you the answer, but it can give you the trust to move forward. Commit to your own growth and development. The people that I coach, typically their bosses aren't paying for it. It's something that they have to do. And I say their boss, their institution sometimes doesn't pay for them to have coaching. But growth is something that's best not done completely by yourself. There's a lot you have to do by yourself, but having an accountability partner is an important step. And then, of course, demonstrate confidence. And if you don't have that, then just be courageous. So these are the 7 things. I won't go through them in the interest of time. But that is how you practice your power. Believe in yourself. Do what you say you want to do, and don't limit your dreams. So here's your personal power assignment as you leave. We want you to download the workbook, complete your 100 extraordinary traits. And then here's the big test. Once a week for 2 hours, do one thing, do something for 2 hours that demonstrates one of those 100 traits. So if you say I'm extraordinary because I'm creative, then one day, random, don't tell anybody you're doing it, just go to work or go about your day and be creative. Don't tell anybody that you're doing it, and just see how your creativity changes your life and how you can begin to master any one of those traits. I'm looking at the time. And then write it down. You know, I had a client that said, AJ, I wrote down one of my extraordinary traits was to be bold. And for my 2 hours of boldness this week, I picked up the phone and I called the news channel to tell them about my business. And guess what? I got on the morning show. They're going to feature my business because she took boldness and practiced that for 2 hours. Wow, that's been an hour went by very quickly. But I want to give you my email address here. If you write to me, aj@creativefundraisingadvisors.com, aj@creativefundraisingadvisors.com. I will send you the 12-page workbook, and you can fill out your 100 extraordinary traits, and you can get the notes to the slideshow. And you can also ask me questions. I really do want us to connect and build a relationship. I'm not selling anything here today. I just want to help encourage you that if you really are ready to move to the next level in your life and career, then you can do it. All you got to do is STOMP. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Now, if you have time to stick by and ask questions, I'm happy to take a couple. If you want to ask questions, I'm happy to stay on. And I know that many of you will have to go, but I'm here if you want to ask me some questions. Let's see. Thank you all for your very kind comments. Yes. Thank you, Tracy. Richard. Thank you, Linda Butler. So good to see you again. So don't forget to write to me. I will get the workbook out to you right away, 12 pages of things that you can do to take control of your personal and professional development. And I'll get that out to you ASAP. Rebecca was stomping when I, bravo. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing right now. And I think that's it. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you to everybody over at Creative Fundraising Advisors and to all of you who spent this last hour with us. Bye now.